somebody would, call the bus driver, and it was just such a harrowing time. Going back to school was just such like a, you were going back to school. That was where the world happened. That was where you touched society. That's where you learned, where you had a chance at meeting a spouse or something, or a whatever. That's where it was like, that was the Greek, the center of existence. That was the nucleus. That was the core of your earth at the time, going to school. And yet then you get on the bus. That was, dude, I remember I get on the bus and it was scary like you got on the bus, and first I remember our bus it was black and white children on our bus. So first you had like these two chicks, they were both pregnant in each of the first seats. The first seats was for chicks that was pregnant or semi-pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember one time we had these chicks, we had Tiffany and we had Largeesh. And both of them, somebody lit them up with that seedling, baby. You know what I'm saying? That zygote, baby. Somebody freaking, put that baby, somebody put that goldfish in the bowl on them babies. So you had them two. Then in the next seat, you had like this brother, this dude. He had knocked both of them up. So he was right there, This dude, fucking inmate Crandall, I think was his name. He was, and that's a crazy name for somebody, but that was the name. They knew out the jump this dude where he was headed, bro. So that was it. That was it. So you had, and I remember that dude for 50 cents, he'd let you see his wiener. Or he would just show you his wiener for no money. So he wasn't like the best businessman, but you had to see a little bit of wiener if you wanted to get past that second row of seats, right? And that, that's just what it was like on the school bus. So you'd see the girls, you kind of do a little prayer for them and the offspring or potential offspring. You'd see inmate Crandall, you fucking nod at him, maybe peek that ween if he was showing root, And then the next seat, it was like a mixed kid, right? And that was like, okay, this is... Because when you were on the bus, you kind of were walking past the seats so fast, it was hard to make choices. Where do I sit? Am I cool? Am I not cool? It was almost like, it was like where God put you in a filing cabinet, or where life puts you in a filing cabinet of how cool or whatever your status was in the world at that moment. Like, do you sit by the kid who's playing a Game Boy or a Switch, a Game Boy at the time? Do I sit by him? That dude's a nerd. Do I sit in this seat? Sometimes you sit in the seat and they'd have some weird kid in there, My mom's missing, and you're like, oh, fuck, dude, and the kid's got fucking rope burns on his wrists and shit. And, and you're like, is everything okay at the house? And he's like, we love Houdini, he's just saying like, we watch David Blaine videos or just something, whatever somebody told, his captors told him to say or whatever. And then you get to the next row and it was like two girls that had just gotten their first thing of fucking lipstick, right? And their moms was on pills. And so they were just like, had made their lips like as big as as big as mine. And you were like, okay, do I sit by the jocks? The jocks seem real cool. They're, oh no, I don't sit there. It was kind of where you figured out where you sit, do I sit by, the girls? No, it was hard. It was like, oh God, that's a cute girl. She's kind of quiet. Then there was some kid who had a broken arm or something. Like, I'm not fucking. Sitting by old Bad Luck Hansen right there, that dude. But that was always a crazy time. I remember getting onto the school bus and being like, okay, where do I sit? Am I cool? Am I not cool? And you couldn't get to the back of the bus, was like the old kids. So you had to, so if you weren't old, you had to figure that out before you got to the back. You know, and finally you duck in somewhere where just somebody seemed safe enough or or just nervous enough or uncertain enough as yourself. And you'd sit down and you make sure, okay, I got my book bag. I'm okay. I got my shoes on. I got my hands on. Everything's fine. You know, and you'd sit there and you just look forward. And then the bus driver, somebody would, you know, call the bus driver, and I don't want to say it, but I said it. And that's what somebody would call the bus driver, and then she would stop. She would stop, boy, because I think she questioned her sexuality, and she would pull that bitch over. And that's when it got insane, you know? And it was like, I just want to go to school. I can't fucking live like Mad Max every morning just because I want social studies